Nothing else, it needs to be a PFD. You got to look out for strainers, obstacles that the water can go through that you can't. If you get pinned in one of those, it's easy to drown. There are 3 dams on the Truckee, if people don't know that, and they're not really safe to boat over unless you're an advanced boater.
(2013) Planning Commission meeting. Roll call.
Commissioner Bowl.
Here.
Commissioner Sperber.
Here.
Commissioner Noe.
Here.
Commissioner Bean.
Here.
Commissioner Sanders.
Here.
Commissioner Hewins and Commissioner Camerota are absent. Assistant City Attorney Doug Thornley.
Here.
City Planner Armando Romero.
Here. All right, our next item is public comments. Anybody who wants to speak on an item that's coming up or just general public comments. Come up and visit and give us your name and the address right there.
Address as well.
Yes, please.
My name's John Rhodes, 2471 Garzoni Drive, Sparks, Nevada, 89434. I've been a Sparks resident for 17 years and a business owner for 17 years as well. I know I got 3 minutes, right?
Right.
Earlier this year, in Symphony, foreclosed on D'Andrea Golf Course. It's been reported by the Reno Gazette-Journal that Will Gustafson has bought it back from In Symphony. Gustafson is the one who drove it into foreclosure already. Page 343, 3-43 of the Development Plan Handbook for D'Andrea requires that all property owners comply with the Nevada Division of Forestry, NDF. NDF laws say require cleaning of all flammable vegetation, a minimum of 30 feet around homes and structures. We all remember the Collin fires and how quickly fires can run in this area. As we know, the city ordinance will always supersede the Development Plan Handbook for D'Andrea and the golf course plans. That being said, I'll refer to the City Sparks Municipal Code zoning and the Land Use Controls, Chapter 2032-1. In that section, it states, if any portion of the landscape material or irrigation equipment is damaged, destroyed, or otherwise injured, the owner, operator, or other person in control of the development project shall replace or repair the damage or injury within 30 days following the notification from administrator of the damage. If the repair or replacement is not accomplished in a timely fashion, as described in Section B, the administrator may initiate proceedings to revoke special use permit or business license of subject use. The golf course is in violation of the Design Standards Manual, Chapter 3, also of the Residential Design Standards, Chapter 3 of, this is not just a, pardon me, also, it is also in violation of the Sparks Design Standards Manual, Chapter 3, Non-Residential Design Standards, General, Landscaping Paragraph C, subparagraph 4 through 5. I would respectfully request the Commission to consider 2 things that I believe will be in best interest of the Sparks community. Number 1, please revoke or deny any special use permit or business license for the clubhouse until repairs or maintenance of the course is brought up to the original handbook guidelines and the DOF guidelines. Number 2, consider renegotiating D'Andrea's water contract. When golf courses in North Las Vegas and Mesquite, Nevada were close to bankruptcy, the golf courses renegotiated with the city's 5-year contracts at 31 cents and 21 cents per 1,000 gallons of reclaimed potable, non-potable water. However, Sparks had a 20-year contract to charge D'Andrea Golf Course 91 cents per 1,000 gallons for reclaimed water. A lot of the reclaimed water that once fed the golf course is now being pumped into the Truckee River. This water is high in levels of nitrogen. If this continues, the city will be forced to build another water treatment plant for up to $70 to $100 million. The new contracts in Mesquite and North Las Vegas generate tourism in Mesquite and Vegas, which, i.e., creates tax revenue. We would also increase home values for the area as a whole, not to mention relieve Sparks from investing $70 to $100 million in water treatment. The homeowners in D'Andrea desire to live in a well-kept, pleasant-looking area and hope this problem could be fixed. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have the documentation to back up Mesquite and the contracts that you guys have as well. Would you like those?
Sure. Thank you very much. Anybody else? I guess not. Okay, close public comment. Approval of the agenda. Anybody want to change anything, or someone want to
Move
make
to
a
approve the
motion?
agenda. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Okay, now approval of the meeting, minutes of the meeting of the April 4th, 2013.
Move to approve as submitted. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Okay, next item, announcements and committee reports. Do we have none for you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Informational items? None. Thank you. Okay, now we're going to get to the public hearings. Our first item is PCN 13001, Sparks Marina Apartments, LLC. I'd like to hear from staff.
Good evening, Karen Melby, Senior Planner. Before you tonight is an amendment to the Marina Village Plan Development, which is a mixture of housing and commercial land uses. You can see on the DocuCam, the Marina Village, this is the Lincoln Way, and this is the area for Marina Village. The apartments have been constructed and the homes have been constructed. The amendment to the handbook pertains to this area right here. There's a total of 32 acres approximately in the Marina Village handbook. The original handbook was approved in 2000, and then there was a minor amendment in 2006. The request tonight for the amendment is to add some flexibility so that they can complete the project. Currently, the handbook has a square footage for the restaurant, retail, office, and then a limit on the number of residential units. What they are requesting is to change this to a total of 416,000 square feet, with the restriction that the commercial and office would still be on the first floor of the buildings, so that one of the buildings couldn't become all commercial or office. The revisions maintain the integrity of plan with no changes in land uses, which is in the recorded handbook. It does potentially increase the gross residential density, but it does not increase the intensity because they're not planning to increase the height of the buildings. It does not vary the ratio of residential to non-residential. It does not reduce the common open space. There's no increase in the non-residential use, and no increase in the ground floor areas or change in the building heights. So staff is recommending that the Planning Commission forward approval on the tentative and final handbook amendment for the Marina Village Plan Development. This concludes my presentation. Be happy to answer any questions.
Question?
Yeah, Karen, what is going to happen with that parking garage that was built there right on the corner?
They intend to build that out with potentially commercial and office on the first floor, and then make residential units. They will probably, that is a recorded handbook, a recorded map.
Right.
So they're probably going to end up changing, having to do a merger and resub and then redivide the project into different configuration, but they are intending to still wrap the building.
Now,
with
who owns
units.
that parking
David
garage?
Dahl is here tonight, and he can probably give you more details on that.
Is that owned by the city? The
No.
garage? No, it's private?
Yes.
And more on that thing. So originally, what I understand, I was not on the planning commission, that building was going to be wrapped with apartments or condominiums.
Yeah,
is
right.
By
that correct?
condominiums, yeah.
All the way, even the bottom floor. Is that
Well,
right?
the first floor could potentially be either residential or commercial. And then the upper floors would be residential units, condo units.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, let me see. Then at this point, let's open the public hearing. applicant want to speak?
My name is David Dahl, 1199 Harbor Cove Court, Sparks, Nevada. I live in the village. Yes. And I'm also the guy who brought you that blighted parking garage. We're in the process of trying to fix that. The main purpose for the handbook amendment is to allow us to build apartments around it, the building, because in the original handbook it talks about condominiums. It doesn't talk about apartments. Okay. That's a pretty big word. There's another big word is shall instead of may. And so when I'm taking it to my investors, they look at the handbook and they look at it and say, I mean, you have to do this and you have to do this and you have to do this. And so and that was not the intent of the handbook originally. It was more to give us permission to do these things. That site is very special, and we think we'll be using the existing parking garage and wrapping it, but we are looking at a lot of different options, and so and we're looking at a blank canvas. And we're going to bring it back to you and see what you think of it. But the existing definitions now restrict us from building apartments on the site. And that's probably the shortest route to covering the parking garage.
Questions? Good point.
Is, just out of curiosity, is when you say you're working with a blank canvas, is demolishing that one of the possibilities that you're considering or not?
Well, we're going to run the cost studies on that to see if there's any feasibility to that. I personally think that we'll find out that it's not feasible to do that, but we are going to run them. And so we are looking at all sorts of opportunities. There's lots of exciting things going on in the development world, and I don't want to have, I just don't want to think in a 1998 box.
Right. Any other question?
Well, whatever happens, Harvey, we wish you the best of luck. I know that. And I know whatever you do, something when you do, it's going to be done well. You bet.
All right, let me see. Anybody in the public want to speak on this item? I guess not. Commissioner questions before I bring it back to the head? No?
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to make a comment that there was a letter written by Paul Davis, lives at 1133 Harbor Court, who is in favor of this. Put it on record.
Okay. All right, let me bring it back to the table here. Commissioner questions, the applicant, or anybody else got questions here? All right, well, let me call for a motion.
I'm ready to make a motion.
Thank you, sir.
I move to forward a recommendation for tentative and final approval of a request for an amendment to the Marina Village Plan Development Handbook associated with PCN 13001, adopting findings PD1 through PD21 and the facts supporting these findings as set forth in the staff report. Because the request includes final approval, the Planning Commission does not recommend that the City Council require a bond at this time as stated in NRS 278A.490.
Second.
All right, I got a first and second. Any other discussion here? All right, then I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, good luck with your project. All right. Our next item is PCN 13006, Flips USA Gymnastics. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Planning Commissioners. Tim Thompson, Senior Planner for the record. Before you tonight is a special use permit request to allow for a recreational facility in the Industrial Zoning District. Specifically, the business is Flips. Flips Gymnastics is currently located here at the corner of Dunn Circle and East Glendale, and they're looking to move further back onto Dunn Circle into a larger space. They've outgrown the existing space and wish to expand. The unique thing about this particular development, the entire development, is there is a document that is recorded over those properties that allow for reciprocal parking and access easements. So all of the businesses and all of the tenants within that industrial complex have the ability to share that parking. So even though there's, I believe it's 18 parking spaces located in front of the unit, they have the ability to utilize all of this parking. And so, we believe that the parking has been satisfied through that. The other significant issue is that this site is served by a railroad spur. That railroad spur is located directly north of the building, and it is located on their private property. It is not in the railroad right-of-way. That spur is not in use. It's there, it exists, but it's not in use. In fact, there's another spur that's located on railroad property just to the north of that spur. And so recreational facilities are not permitted on properties that have railway access. And so there is a condition of approval that or at least a portion of that railroad spur be removed prior to the use being established on that site. Otherwise, the site does meet the locational criteria, and staff is recommending approval for the project. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Tim, I have one question. What is the length of that spur? You know?
The length? Not off the top of my head. I mean, we could measure it out. But
No, I just didn't know if it was like 100 feet, 200 foot, or...
I think what they're proposing to do is to pare it back to here at the very least. In the future, if and when, if the time should ever come that somebody wants to use the space for access, at least they could extend it back. But for the time being, they're going to remove it.
And then the special use permit is 2 years?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, you may recall that there was an ordinance passed in the last couple of months to extend the special use permit approval period to 2 years with a 1 year extension. Previously, it was 1 year with a 1 year extension.
Yeah, but I didn't hear if it was final approval by the city council.
Yes, the city council did approve that.
Okay.
So they essentially have 2 years to establish the use and the ability to ask for a 1 year extension should they not have established that use.
Question, again, on that spur, and I see now you're saying...
Only because your name is Spur.
Spur. Thank you, Tim. No, I mean, I know, he's horrible. Anyway, the only reason, or the main reason we're requesting to get that out of there, it's an abandoned line, it's not being used, is specifically because of that reason that it says anything on a recreational that it would have? I just want to clarify, is that the reason we're doing that?
Yeah, the industrial zoning code has some locational criteria. Many years ago now, we had two zoning districts. We had industrial and industrial commercial. And what we did was we updated our industrial code, and we went out to stakeholders and talked to folks in the industrial area, businesses, real estate professionals, and we heard a lot of different things. What we chose to do was essentially get rid of the industrial commercial zoning district, and we went to a locational criteria where any properties that were located within a certain number of feet of certain roadways had the ability to do additional uses. Mm-hmm. So in the industrial district, any industrial use, there are industrial uses, and they're permitted anywhere in the industrial district. But in order to do the service, civic, or recreational type of use, you have to meet this locational criteria, and one of the criteria is that you cannot have railway access. If you have railway access, you cannot take advantage of those additional uses. And so in this particular case, they wouldn't be able to take advantage of this space for the recreational use because it has railway access. Because that spur is located on private property, the property owner actually has the ability to remove it, which then suggests that the property does not have railway access anymore, and therefore we can allow the recreational facility through the special use permit process.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions before?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
I was checking out the map of a previous meeting when we approved the American Target Sports, which is, if I'm reading this correctly, a sort of catty corner on the other side of Dunn Circle.
I believe you're talking about this.
Yep, that's
building
where I
area.
think it is. Yeah, that's where it is. One of the issues that we talked about there was just what the potential was for parking issues if they had tournaments or events that would bring in people with trucks and things like that. And presumably flips might also have need for occasionally something other than just the regular folks coming in for lessons or practice and tournaments, or and they're not called tournaments for gymnastics, but events. That also might cause the same thing. Have you had a conversation with either or both of those entities about that?
The condition number 3 in the conditions of approval specifically talks about special events, and that any special events above and beyond the normal operation, I think as you're talking about, Commissioner Vols, would require them to go through the temporary use permit process. So we will have the ability to review their application, send that out to the police and fire department, and be able to condition anything that we may think is an issue.
So I don't remember, but would American Target Sports, which might also have events like that, be subject to the same requirement? And would someone in the city then make certain we're not creating issues?
If I remember right, I'm pretty sure we did not put that condition. I'm pretty sure we did not on that.
If I recall correctly, in that case, basically the applicant represented that if they had any events, they would be very small, and really we're not going to be
Wouldn't be an
drawing.
issue.
Yeah, there wouldn't be much traffic.
And that's true.
Okay. It's obviously potentially a pretty constrained area in there when you get what seems to be more and more the kinds of uses that might end up with sort of peak crowds, and other times being less crowded, obviously, different from a warehouse facility maybe.
And Mike Raley is here on behalf of the applicant, and he just mentioned to me that they don't have tournaments. But
Is that it, guys?
to,
Just open the public hearing.
to answer Commissioner Lean's
Or is it-
question, it's 330 feet or so.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right, sorry. Okay, let's open the public hearing. The applicant, would you like to speak?
Good evening. For the record, Mike Raley with Rubicon Design Group here on behalf of Flips Gymnastics. Just to address the parking real quick, there are no meets at this facility. It's set up strictly for lessons and training. It's not set up in terms of being able to accommodate the fans, so to speak. So the meets are all off-site. There's no meets held at this facility. So they estimate at kind of their peak operating time, which would be at, for example, a Saturday morning, would be about 80 students and 50 parents on site, and that would be a conservative peak estimate. So with that would generate about the need for about 30 parking spaces. So you could fill that technically just right there around the building.
Okay. All right, anyone like to speak on this from the public? Would you like to speak? Okay, thank you. Any more commissioner question? Nothing? All right, let me bring it back to the table, close the public hearing. Any other commissioner questions? How about someone like to make a motion then?
I'll be happy to make a motion.
Thank you.
I move to approve the special use permit associated with PCN 13006 to allow an indoor recreational facility adopting findings S1 through S6 and the facts supporting these findings as set forth in the staff report, subject to the conditions of approval 1 through 8 as listed in the staff report.
Second.
First and a second. Any other discussion? All right, then let me call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None? Good luck with your project. Thank you. All right, now we're going back to public comments. Anything that's not on the item or not on our agenda. Anybody from the public like to speak at this point?
Come on back up, please.
Yeah, could you come up? Thank you.
Again, John Rhodes, Sparks, Nevada.
Very good.
2471 Garzoni Drive. After somebody puts a comment in front of the commission, what happens? Would I be better off following up with a letter to each one of you?
Can I have some help with that?
Depending on the content of the comment and what is pending in front of the Planning Commission or the City Council at the time, staff will go back and research a comment and address it if necessary. Frankly, I think based on your concern, what you'd be better off doing is writing a letter to the City Council members. I'm not, off the top of my head, which council member, Mr. Ornelas, who is it? It's Smith. Specifically, Councilmember Smith would be who you'd want to direct your concern to, and then he will likely plot out some next steps in terms of where staff resources will be directed.
I have quoted specific zoning laws, and
well, I understand what you're saying, but I'm not
attorneys in staff.
Well, I'm not certain that exactly the way you quoted it is how they necessarily apply, although I'm not prepared to speak intelligently on it this evening. Like I said, if you write a letter addressing the concerns...
I believe you're an attorney as well, right?
I am.
Okay. So should we direct a formal letter to you?
If you want to direct the letter to me, you may. I have to tell you, I will probably give it to the city manager and ask him what he wants done with it. And he will ask Councilmember Smith. So I think what you should do is write the letter to Councilmember Smith, who will give it to the city manager, and the resources will be allocated to look into it if they deem it appropriate.
Can I ask you, have you given a special use permit to this group already?
No, I don't think so.
No, they haven't come in front of us.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for your time.
All right. You're welcome.
Thank you, John.
Thanks. Okay, next item, comments from the commissioners. Anybody got some comments here? All right. Then for adjournment, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All. Aye.
All in favor.
Thank you.